This country's mired in another kind of mess right now. It's become known as the subprime mortgage mess, and this state is starting to experience some of the trickle effects of that. We've been told that we shouldn't be surprised if we experience some kind of tsunami before it's all over, with regard to how it's going to affect our economy. And I'm just wondering, where do you lay the blame? Who's to blame for this? Who is not to blame for it? And is there a more proactive role that the government could be taking to help find a resolution for this?
Well, who's to blame, first of all? The mortgage industry. They've been acting like loan sharks. That's who's to blame. Who else is to blame? The lack of regulation. The Bush administration saying, you know, it's a free market. You guys do what you have to. And I think there's some homeowners, some that probably should have realized that some of these were schemes. But I think there are a lot of innocent Americans. 2 million have lost their homes in this country so far. And you know, we've got to be on the side of the homeowner and to protect the American dream, which is home ownership. So what would I do? Well, you know, I think a start has been for the Treasury to say that we're going to freeze existing rates. I think that's a start. But that's a voluntary agreement. You know, you don't want to interfere in the market too much. But I would look at that voluntary agreement and extend it, because I think it only covers 250,000 homes. So I'd make it broader. But I think that is a decent start. Freeze existing rates as they are. Second thing I'd do is I'd have bankruptcy protection for primary homes. You know, it doesn't exist. That's going to require legislation. Third thing I would do is, you know, just require more transparency, you know, more oversight between these credit lenders and the mortgage industry. What else would I do? You know, why is it that 35% of the homeless people in this country are veterans? You know, we should do more to protect our vets. And a lot of these vets that are homeless, we got mental health problems. I know this is unrelated, but we ought to have a homeless policy in this country that at the very least protects our veterans, but also finds ways to deal with the homeless. What else would I do? You know, there's Consumer Product Safety Commission. We ought to have a financial housing credit agency that protects consumers from these future deals. You know, another thing that I believe we need to do, although it's getting a little, I think this is a crisis as bad as the savings and loan crisis. I think it's going to get worse. And you know, we had the RTC, the Resolution Trust Corporation, that was like the arbiter between housing industry and sellers and savings and loan companies. I'd have an RTC that would be a government agency that would help homeowners and lenders and credit agencies and mortgage people to either freeze rates or do whatever it takes to prevent foreclosures, set up new payments. That's what I would do. I think this is really a serious issue. And you know what I sense around the country? Hey, Tom, any chance I can get a cup of coffee with cream?
With cream?
Yeah. No sugar, because I'm on a diet. I'm on a daily diet. So that's what I would do. You know, there's a general unease in the American middle class that really has me worried. People are worried about high health care costs. They're worried about not being able to pay the college loans for their kids. They're worried about pensions, pension security. They're worried about wages not staying, keeping up with inflation. You know, I read this report about your kids here in New Hampshire. You know, why is it that half of all college graduates in New Hampshire leave? Because you don't have enough high-paying jobs. We've got to find ways in rural states like yours to bring industry in so that, you know, families can stay together and your generation here stays here. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.